Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. On this episode, we are joined by Sambaza, host and creator of the Sambaza Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast, a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. Today we have our most favorite co-host, Sambaza, host and creator of the Sambaza Podcast. He is a 3-time nominee for the African Diasporan Podcast Award, and he is from the Republic of Kenya in East Africa. He has also been a presenter at the Afros and Audio Podcast Festival discussing Pan-Africanism, and he will be an ambassador and speaker at the 2024 Afros and Audio Podcast Festival. Hey, Sambaza.
Hey, what's up, Jen? How you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, again, welcome everyone to Woke by Accident and Sambaza Podcast collaboration, where we dive into stories and insights about the most influential voices shaping our world today. And we have an incredible guest today who is a true visionary in the podcasting space. And so really happy to bring that to you guys and share. So any thoughts today about our guest, Sambaza?
Our guest is family, so he's practically family. Yeah, I'm ready to have him on from the green room and have some fun today.
For sure. I know I keep mentioning the Afros Audio Podcast Festival. We're pretty excited as it is approaching pretty soon. And so we will, our guest has some special involvement with the festival. So we'll hear more about it. So we'll go ahead and introduce our guest at this time. All right. And so our guest, like we said, is a true visionary in the podcasting space. And he is a podcast development strategist and community builder who has dedicated his career to helping content creators, entrepreneurs, and business craft audience-driven ecosystems around the podcasts and content platforms. He is the founder of the Black Podcasters Association, a vibrant community that provides support, education, and a network for Black podcast creators and professionals. In addition to the BPA, our guest has founded the Black Podcast News, the first ever podcast industry trade newsletter curated specifically for Black podcast creatives. And so his commitment to elevating Black voices in the podcast industry doesn't stop there. He also serves on the board of the Association of Independents in Radio AIR, and also a global nonprofit, over 1,500 members in this organization. So impressive and so substantial. Beyond his work in podcasting, our guest has an extensive background in the music industry as an independent hip-hop producer. He also is the co-founder of Press Record Studios, a full-service podcast and content creation studio based in Westbury, New York. And if there wasn't enough, our guest co-hosts the Instagram live show Pod Hour alongside Naya B, where they explore the latest trends and topics in podcasting every Tuesday. And so, with that, we want to welcome our good friend, Mr. Corey Gumbs.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Corey. Good to see you.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
It's funny hearing my intro, my bio, because you don't realize how much you do until you hear it read out loud. So, thank you for having me here, guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to have you here to share some insight and just a bit of your journey with us. So we are definitely glad to have you. Sambaza.
Yes, Corey, we'll just go right into it.
I don't know if you had any opening thoughts before we get into it, because I wanted to
jump in.
We're gonna go straight in. We already said hi, hello. I like the introduction, by the way. Let me put it like that. Jen, you did a fabulous job. But Corey, the mission of Black Podcasters Association currently states that it is to bring together a diverse group of Black podcast creatives and professionals who are committed to reshaping the podcasting landscape. while striving to create a foundation that fully supports our creative voices, respect our brands, and celebrates our unique voices. Do you feel that you have achieved that, or we're still in work in progress?
Oh, I think that's always going to be a work in progress as the
Mhm.
industry grows. We're starting it. I don't think we've achieved it yet. And it's something to strive towards every time. I feel like things aren't going right or whatever, or when I see things happening in the industry, it's like, where do we fit in this space? So I think our mission statement is a living document, right? We're going to be adjusting and moving it as the industry grows, as our needs grow, as we keep moving forward in the podcast industry and content creation space.
Definitely. And I also wanted to, publicly thank Corey for creating the BPA. We appreciate your hard work and identifying a need for a collective like this. So many of our fellow podcast brothers and sisters met and formed bonds through the BPA. And so for that, we'll always be grateful. yeah,
You're
so
welcome.
definitely,
I mean,
yeah.
well, like I said to you earlier, it's a community, and it's not a community without you guys. So it goes both ways. Thank you guys for being a part of it from the beginning. It was a crazy idea, and I didn't think it was going to work.
Really?
So how did you come up with it when
Mhm.
to establish the talent? Because even having come up with the name Black Podcasters Association, that's something that people would assume it will already be there.
The story is always starts with I started as a Facebook group, right? Actually, right, we launched right when the pandemic hit New York. So it was just me trying to figure out. It was a challenge by a friend that was just like, I was complaining about some of the engagement I was seeing in some of the other podcasting groups on Facebook when it came to people of color and our white counterparts. And it was just like, we need our own space where we can understand each other and we can help each other. And she was like, well, start your own group. So challenge accepted. And at first I didn't know what I was doing. And, the first year it was just like trying to figure out, what is it going to be? What is this? I had an idea of what I wanted it to be, but it was just trying to figure out like how I'm going to execute it. What does it really look like? And when the pandemic happened, everything, as we all know, everything just took off, especially for in the Black community with podcasting. So, um, it was a huge learning curve, but eventually I knew I wanted to monetize it. I knew I needed a organization where we can raise the standard and raise the quality of the work that we do. And it was just like, how do I do that while also paying people and trying to facilitate the whole thing of, bringing people in to work with the members and stuff. And when Talib came to me from Afros and Audio, and we decided to move it to a more a membership based organization, I was like, well, we need to have a better name, because I had a placeholder that I didn't like. It was called the Black Podcasting Group. I was supposed to be temporary until I figured something out, and people started loving that name. So I was just like, it really bothered me. But I was like, we're an association of, it's like we have podcasters, we have editors, we have marketers, we have so many different people in this space, and there's so many different roles in this space. I was like, well, an association would be the best type of thing to create. So the whole idea of the association name was to really create a collaborative environment for people in this industry.
Yeah,
Yes.
and like the fact that you have the diverse group of individuals and creative voices that you have. Looking at the quality of people that you have, based on the interactions that we have in the beginning, how easy or how hard was it for people to buy into the idea that you have this say the crazy idea that would come up to be what it is today?
Um, to buy in, I think clarity of the mission statement. For me at the time, it was just certain things I was seeing going on in the industry, and I wanted to make sure that since we were here at the beginning of it, that we had a seat at the table, and if not, we were in a position to create our own seat. So I had to be really, really clear on what our role is as an association. So that's why I have the mission statement. That's why I came up with the core values, because it was like, I also personally wanted to just raise the standard, like create a standard for us to really achieve with our content, because at the time when I was seeing it was like just people were just putting things out and then wondering why they're not getting traction or why they're not getting, why the money's not coming or why they're not getting sponsors or why that audience is not growing. And a lot of it was just like you're putting out a bad product. So I was like, how do I create a space where we can work on, and there was a lot of people, no knock on those people. There's a lot of people that they were just doing it. They didn't understand like how audio works or how video works. And it was like, how do we just create a space where people can get the tools that they need to get better, right? I can't sit here and say you're putting out a bad product and then not give you the tools you need to learn how to make a good product. So that was kind of like, and that's why I think where the quality came in, because we started having like really engaging conversations in the Facebook group about audio quality, what is a podcast, like really having those conversations, and people were just stepping up and giving their 2 cents. And it was just, and then learning how to nurture those voices and give those voices a space to be able to engage. Because I know when I first started, it was like, I felt like I had to do everything. I had to come up with the content. I had to create the thing. If I didn't post, people didn't post. And it was like, well, how do I get people engaged where they feel like they have ownership? So it was like a lot of those things, just trying to figure that out. And it was a lot of trial and error. And, I think as people started getting more value from the conversations, then that's where the quality of the membership started to grow and blossom.
Okay. I have a follow-up question. It's a bit controversial, but I don't know. We'll just, it's just me trying to get some clarity. It is more, it's year 4 right now, I believe, with the Black Podcasters Association.
Technically year 2 going into 3, but yeah.
Oh yeah, 2 going
officially as the BPA officially, yes. Going into year 2. We just had our 2nd anniversary this year.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Now, what are your plans to expand out of the East Coast? Because like your meetups are usually made up of East Coast crew, and we are in Central Standard Time, and then we have Pacific Time. I feel sometimes I'm left out when I see you guys.
New York. Come to New York. Come to the East Coast.
Pictures of you guys hanging out, and I'm like, man, I'm missing out on that. Are there any plans for you guys to move to the Central and then Central Standard Pacific Time?
Well, the goal has always been for me is to be a global organization. So, unfortunately, I'm here. I'm in New York, right? This is where I was born and raised. This is where everything's happening. And do I want to be able to do stuff, expand to other places? Yes, but resources, right? That's always one of everybody's biggest issues. I consider myself a startup, and I don't have investors and revenue coming in from different places. We're a very community-driven organization, so it's trying to figure out how to do that. But I do have a plan. Like when I started this, I was like, I want to have chapters, and what I call, being from New York, sometimes you forget that you're probably one of the largest media markets, right? Everything's happening here, from podcasting to music to entertainment, throughout the whole entertainment space. Then you have cities like DC, Atlanta, Los Angeles, right? And then you have the smaller markets like in the Midwest, Detroit and Houston, Dallas, and some people might argue that they're not small, but in comparison to where I'm at, they are, right? When talking with you guys and hearing this part, right? Because I hear when you guys say this stuff, and I'm like, how do we bring it out there, right? How do we figure out how to get it to you guys, get this stuff to you guys? Some of these events and stuff. The plan is, you might see us doing it in New York, but the plan has always been for me to move it over to other places. I wanted to start chapters. I consider like the Midwest. I'm starting to realize there's a lot of fractured communities, podcast communities, especially for our community, the Black community, and the BIPOC community in general. But I'm going to talk about Black podcasting right now. There's a lot of Black podcasters in the Midwest and in the South and all these areas that normally aren't in these big media markets, but they're so fractured. Because when I meet people like at African Audio Podcast Movement, I'm like, oh, you guys all live within an hour drive of each other, or whatever. So it's like, how do I figure out how to take those fractured communities and bring them together? One of the things I wanted to do was start actual local BPA chapters where we're supporting and having meetups and events and stuff, doing like that. Not to speak too early and too soon, but we might be doing something in Detroit soon. So like I'm starting to get more people reaching out to me saying, hey, how do I bring this to where I'm at? And it's now, let's start the conversation on how we can what resources can we tap into? How can we bring what we're doing here? A lot of the things that we do here in New York in the East Coast area, how can I bring it to you guys in the Midwest or down south or on the West Coast? So, but at the end of the day, a lot of it has to deal with resources. And as I told people at the Black, at our summer social this past summer, it's like, especially for us as Black content creators, we have to show up and we have to show out and we have to pay. And we have to make investments into the infrastructures of those people who are out here actually trying to do things to help build up this community and build up our position within this industry.
Right. And then I think this is a good time to tell the listeners who may be creatives getting into podcasts or wanting to network with other podcasts, the BPA may be a benefit to them. You mentioned that, or you shared that it is a paid membership option, and if you could let us know some of the benefits of being a member.
Some of the benefits, well, one of the benefits, as you guys know, is we do a lot of workshops, a lot of trainings. We have monthly trainings, we have monthly workshops. We're about to do a big one with Tink Media next in 2 weeks with for podcast marketing and audience growth. So that's that's one of the biggest things that we offer is the memberships. To the membership is the trainings and workshops. And kind of slowed down a little bit this year, but 2025 is about to pick up. We're about to start offering some courses, some actual masterminds and cohort-based trainings as well. Another benefit is the events that we do. We do meetups. We had a big meetup at Podcast Movement. We're going to try to do something in association with Afros and Audio. So, like, I'm in talks with possibly doing something with Podfest. So it's like, trying to do those things and members get perks off of that. I'm also doing a lot of working on a lot of collaborative things right now with software and stuff to bring to the community to help offset or to help mitigate the whole what I call software purgatory with all these AI tools. It's like, which one do I use and all that stuff. So it's like I'm trying to create some partnerships with some Black-owned companies as well as some more of the popular companies on like saying, hey, what can we do with our membership here? How can we provide it? And coming up in 2025, we're gonna be launching the BPA podcast network. So like I'm working on things. So
okay.
Exciting.
Yep. Yeah. And a question.
I know you got a ton of them.
Today I'm on you.
Yeah.
Well, no. This one is more to do with the new. I think you have a new arrangement. I think you have a partnership with a company that has changed the level of participation in terms of dues and everything on the Black Podcast Association. And what are we looking at? Maybe you might just give us an idea of those people who we got their email but couldn't understand what was going on.
You talking about the change over to the new platform?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm an AppSumo addict, so I'm always looking at stuff on AppSumo. If you don't know what AppSumo is, it's a platform where a lot of startups go to get users, and they offer like lifetime deals. And I'm also part of a small like you guys, a small collective of content creators in this space. And one of the guys in there was like, hey, this Black founded. One of the things when I started the BPA was I wanted to really work with Black owned businesses or Black businesses. In the podcast industry, and just happened to stumble onto this lifetime deal, and it was like, okay, this platform is a little bit more organized in regards to how I wanted to do things versus where we were on the current platform we're on. I don't know if I should throw out names, but it just fits. I think it fits my needs and the vision I have for how the community needs to run. But the big kicker for me was it is a Black founded and it's a startup, and I like the idea that they're very involved in the features of, the community. It's very community driven with the features that people make requests and their roadmap. So I'm excited to and I know kind of stumbled on people, but I've been working on this for the past couple of months on getting it right. Part of the problem with dealing with a startup is they have a platform and they're constantly developing it. So it's like I would get stuff set up and they'd be like, oh, we're revamping this, or we redesigned this, or we added this feature. And it's like, bro, I finally just got this part done. Now I got to go and redo it and learn it. And, so that's where I've been dragging my feet. So it kind of came to a surprise for a lot of people, but It's time for us to move on to a platform that allows us to do things like courses and make it easier for our members to navigate. Because the platform we're on, I got a lot of feedback from people, and it was like they were confused on how to use it and where information was at. So
Well, I applaud, the effort in wanting to shift everything in the goal of supporting a black business. Like, how dope is that? I think we even talked about in the past, Corey, that the shirts was had something to do with a black company or initially.
yeah,
So you definitely make it your business to seek those out, and I appreciate that because a lot of people wouldn't think that far to do that, to make sure, hey, if I'm going to do this thing, I, want to partner with other independent black businesses and bring them together and bring them into this. So that's super dope.
yeah. I mean, podcast. I think, and one of the things I do out here in Queens is, a lot of people call me the podcast guy, right? They see me. I always go to these events. I'm wearing my gear, or people, or I'm always getting tagged in the local groups for like when somebody asks about podcasting. But one of the things I'm really trying to get black businesses to understand is that they need to be in this space, whether it's using a podcast to build their brand, or using or advertising with independent podcasters to help expand their reach, and expand their business, their marketing efforts. So I'm always constantly just saying, like, so I'm always talking about business, like, you guys got to get in the space. We got to get you in here. We got to get you in here. Um, because I see this as a medium that, it's a beautiful medium that I think people can really capitalize off of. That's expensive, but it's cheaper than putting together a video commercial. It's cheaper than having to put out a radio ad. And because we know that the statistics say the connection between host and guest is so personal, that when somebody says, hey, this is a product that I endorse, or check out this product, you're going to get better engagement and return on investment on your dollar for that advertisement that you do on a podcast than you're going to do anywhere else. So the data is out there. It's not up for debate anymore.
Right.
And I think black businesses and black podcasters need to figure out how to come together. It's not going to make you a billionaire, right? It's not going to make you. It might not even make you rich, but you guys always hear me say it. But if it could pay your hosting fees, if it could pay for your editor, if it could pay for some,
Okay.
if it could pay for you to bring a VA in to help you with some of your workflow, then you're winning at that point, right? Because if you can make $100, at some point you can make 200, and you can keep doubling that. So, but it's trying to get more black businesses and black podcasters and content creators to understand that there is a synergy here that we need to figure out how to bring each other together. So, best way to do that is, right, try to lead by example.
For sure. And Sambaza, you want to acknowledge your comments that we have?
Yes, we have Ed showing up every day. We do appreciate you, Ed. And he says, peace, family. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Hey, shout out to Brother Ed. All right.
All right, so Corey, I did appreciate what you gave me. For me, my angle is always coming from the African perspective, from the African diaspora, and so far, the engagement that we've had with regard to Black Podcast Association have been very great and very promising, to whereby the collaborations that are coming are phenomenal. So, shout outs to what you've been doing. Really appreciate it.
Can I talk about that real quick? Because I've been trying to figure that one out for the longest now, right? Like, one of the things, I want us to be a global organization, and that means
Right.
going into these growing markets, because the African market, and I'm going to say African as the continent, the African market, the Caribbean market, the even the Caribbean Latino market, right? South America, Central America, where we have a lot of Afro, I hate the term, but Afro Latinos in those areas, as well as the diaspora in Southeast in Asia, right? We have and in Europe, right? We're global. Well, for
Yes.
me, it's like about trying to figure out how to bring everybody together, because I truly believe, especially since we're dealing with exploitive companies, these companies that are looking at these markets, I'm like, how can we get in here and how can we maximize our market cap in this space? I think collectively, if we all come together collectively, it gives us more power. It gives us, if we move us with one voice, despite all the disparities and the trauma and everything that we have because of colonialism and all that stuff. But if we stand strong as one voice in it, it'll be harder and it'll increase our value collectively and individually, because these industries always look towards our people once they plateau on their on how they do things. And since we're always under the radar trying to figure out how to make money, we're extremely creative. We think out of the box. We figure out things. You see it with you saw it in the movie industry, you see it in the TV industry. Now you saw it throughout the history of hip hop the past 30 years, and now you're going to start seeing it in the podcast space. So once
Yeah.
the money's made and they reach those plateaus, they're going to start turning their eyes to us, because we've been trying to make it with the least. We've been becoming successful with the least amount of resources. So
Absolutely.
that's why the movie industry always supports black movies, right? Cost you $1-2 million to make it, but it'll make you at least $30 million. That's a huge return on investment in comparison of how with minimal marketing. So we have to think about that. That's how they look at us. So we have to be able to come together and say, we're not letting you do that to us anymore. We want to get
Right.
you equally. We want the same value. We have more value than our white counterparts a lot of times. We just don't recognize it.
Yes. And we talked about that. Our influence is strong. There's power in that. You may say, you're independent. Who's going to pay attention? But, we have an independent, brother from the UK, Olu. Shout out to Olu. And, he got a mention from, Joe Budden. And he has a, really independent type of platform. But people are paying attention. You know what I mean? So, yes, you as an independent podcaster, can, make moves in this industry, even as an independent, because our influence is
Yeah.
power.
And brands are starting to recognize the they tried the macro thing with that whole Spotify and exclusive stuff, and we see that project failed, and now everybody's pivoting. So these brands are now looking towards like a micro type of strategy, where they're looking at those individual independent podcasters who have an audience of maybe 500 to 1,000 people that are constantly engaged, continually engaged. So it's going to be important for us to really start working on building our infrastructure on our data, learning our demographics, getting as much feedback from our audience as possible, so that when you pitch to a brand or they come to you, you can be like, here's my audience, and I know what the value of what my audience is to you. Pay me. Give me a fair deal, or pay me, right? Like, we see the disparities in the CPM model in regards to black-based content versus the other types of content out there, right? So the only way you can do that is you got to know your value. And in order to know your value, you got to know your audience. That's the most important thing in anything, right? In data, you got to know your audience, and then you got to have as much data from that as possible. So it's going to be important for us, and us as an association. I'm trying to figure out how to do that stuff. Like, I'm trying to talk behind the scenes, bring people together to say, how can we get our own data and not rely on some of these companies? Because we haven't had the Black Podcasters Listening Report, and it didn't happen last year, and it's not happening this year. And I know why. And it's no knock on Edison for not doing it, but we shouldn't have to rely specifically on that company to do what we should be doing ourselves.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure there's
Interesting.
a smart MIT guy out there who's
I just need some data scientists. So if you know anybody, hit me up. Like, recommend, send them my way.
all right. We'll do that. But I know there's Kevin from AfriPods, and then
Yes.
Dan Osteda of Semabox, all of them with the Baraka Media Lab. I think they have something going on in terms of trying to bring in that communication between, or bridging the gap.
Yeah, I gotta reach. I'm a big supporter of, as you know, Sambaza. I've been out there talking to them. It's just bad because of the time difference. It's hard for everybody to catch up with each other. But like, I have some ideas that I want to do that I've been talking to people behind the scenes, and of course I support and promote everything, from the African continent. And
Let me tell you how to do it.
Huh?
Let's go to Kenya. Let's go to Kenya.
Let's go to Kenya. Okay.
Let's go.
I'm not getting caught up. I'm not getting caught up in all that. You gonna have our Nigerian and West African brothers looking at me a little sideways, and I'm gonna get caught up in the jollof rice conversations and all that stuff.
No, we don't do jollof rice.
I'm just saying, like, I'd stay out of all of that. But like for instance, on the newsletter, if you follow the newsletter, I have the Canadian voices now, because one of the things about Canadian feedback I was getting is like, here in the States, we only concentrate on the States, and they're our neighbors. My goal is to bring, and I've been talking to some people, is to bring the African diaspora component into the newsletter, because it's for everyone, right? Not just for us American blacks or African Americans, whatever title you go by. But it's not just for us. It's I want to bring in the Caribbean contingent. I want to bring in the African. I want to bring in even the European, the people in the European
Absolutely.
because we're all and we have a lot. I can tell you from looking at my data, we have a lot of people that read it from there. So because we have people that read it from certain countries, I want to be able to represent their voices as well. And to me, that makes the newsletter more powerful for those powers that be that are trying to shut it down.
Like I said, you got a direct flight from New York straight to Kenya. No stopping, nothing. Yeah, you ain't got to worry about, oh, I'm going to stop somewhere. No, it's straight.
So that's the goal. The goal is on the next couple of years to be able to go out there and do these connections. But you know, and that's what the association it's very collaborative. I'm really about being collaborative. Whether I can help, whether it's promote somebody's stuff in the newsletter or we bring people in to come speak to our community so that we can bridge some of those gaps, because I really want to bridge these gaps.
But that'll be awesome. And we're here to help anytime as an association member.
Like I'm looking forward to your panel, the panel at Afros and Audio. Like I want to be there. I want to be there and listen to the conversation. I tried to do it last year, but it was so busy I missed it.
Oh, that was the one with Paula. Paula did the last one. Yeah. Oh yeah, she moderated. Okay, this one's gonna be lit for sure. I saw You saw the lineup, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to be there.
Oh, there you go.
So that's the perfect time, Sambaza. Talk our next.
Oh yeah. And so we're going to talk about Black Podcasters Association in partnership with the Afros and Audio Festival. Since, like I said, we're going to be there. So Afro and Audio Podcast Festival is actually a first multi-day conference for and by Black podcast independent creators and audio professionals. The conference will be held in Baltimore next month. It's from the 18th to the 20th. Now, Corey, please share with the listeners and viewers your involvement with the festival as a partner and what is the vision? Because this year it really changed, like the way it was last year.
We're a community partner, so when we started the BPA, Talib came to me, and we basically came to each other. We both were trying to figure out. I wanted to do a conference. He wanted a community where where people after the community conference can go and continue, because a lot of times one of these conferences, you get it on this high, you're excited, you made all these network connections, and then as time goes on, it just dwindles out, until you go to the next conference, right? But he wanted a place where you can continue that amongst your people, amongst your community, where it can continue further and further past just that point of like where everything wears off, right? For me, it was like I wanted to, at the time when I started, I was like, okay, there's not a lot of conferences out here dedicated to us. I knew of Afros and Audio, so when he came to me, it was like we had the synergy. So we decided to create a community partnership, which became the Black Podcast Association. So my role is to support. Just like how they support us, my role is to support and provide as much support, whether it's promotion, whether it's our members show up, right? That's why our members get a significant discount on the tickets. So I'm hoping, I know I see a lot of you guys saying we're going to be on panels, but I'm hoping to see a lot more members out there. But the goal is to support and promote it, because truthfully, from when I started this to now, they're the last of the Mohicans. They're the last one standing right now of all the attempts made by people. And it's no knock on other people, but it's just the industry's changing, the needs are changing, and it's hard to maintain these things. It's a lot of work. So my goal is to provide support wherever I can, offer insight, physically be there and help whatever I can help. Like I always do. We have our table, but a lot of times I'm running around and helping as well. So that's kind of our role with it. The vision for me is, which has always been my vision, is like, when I'm the type of person, I'm going to do everything, right? I'm going to have awards. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I always tell people, like, when I first started, as some people say, I'm New York City aggressive. I was like, oh, I see everybody doing these things, but they ain't doing it right. Let me do it. But I was like, hold on. Why reinvent the wheel? If somebody's doing an award, somebody's doing a conference, it's better if I go in and offer my assistance and try to help build that up versus me trying, because we're all technically fighting for the same dollar. So it doesn't make sense to fight for the same dollars when we can support each other and all get a piece of that dollar, right? So that's kind of where I'm at. So that's why you see me doing stuff with the Black Podcasting Awards. That's why you see me doing stuff with Afros and Audio and all these other groups out here. I'm really trying to be an association and be as collaborative as possible. And I think by us being there and and other people being there, it brings more value to the event, right? If we're doing things there to support it, whether we're doing our own meetup or whether we're doing a meetup with them, it's like our podcast movement, right? When I did our meetup, almost every Black person that was attending podcast meetup came. And I didn't plan for.
Oh wow.
I was only like, oh well, we'll get to 20 people, but I happened to just put 100 on the Eventbrite, and it got to the point where I was like, my phone was going. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is crazy, right? But
Nice.
we walked into the bar, and I tried to call them and tell them we was coming. We walked into the bar, and they was like, I did some other New York City stuff, and I was like, yeah, we're just gonna hit the bar, right? So you got like 50 people, 100 people walking in at one time, and they were just like overwhelmed. But
Wow.
we had a great time, and a lot of people were thankful for it because there was nothing there for that. I mean, BIPOC did a community meetup, but there was nothing. A lot of people didn't know about that at first. So like even with them, I supported that event, right? Like we did ours one day, and they did theirs the next. So
Okay.
it's just trying to do. By doing that, you bring more value, right? So everybody's like, "Are you going to be here next year?" And I'm like, "Oh, we'll see, we'll see."
Oh, come on, Corey, you can't do that. Can't do that. I think we'll see.
And that's why the summer social happens every year, because it was like, I wasn't going to do it this year, and then a couple people were like, "Are we doing it? Is it happening?" And I was like, "All right." So people are asking, and then it was like, "Okay, let's plan it and set it up." So, but I'm glad we did it this year because now it opened up a conversation to bring it somewhere else. If I didn't do it, that conversation wouldn't have happened. So,
and I think, Corey, that's part of where we got to be careful about making this. When you make that promise, not even make the promise, or when you start something, especially in your position and the magnitude of people who know you and what we are striving for. If you did that podcast movement meetup, and it was so successful, generally the mode of operation is that you're going to be back there next year, saying that probably will kind of hurt people and be like, man, why? I know it means dollars and cents have to be involved somewhere, but I think the end result is you build it up. Right now, it may not make much. I don't know how it goes, but after a while, people now buy into the idea. But it's that consistency, like we always talk about podcasting. There's a consistency that you have to create for people to get used to a product and get used to something that when you yank it out, they'll be like, wait a minute, why are we missing out on this? It used to be there. It used to be a standard. We got to have it back, whether we like it or not. We're going to do something about it. You see what I'm saying? So I would like you to keep that energy going and have that meetup again next year. I'll plead with you on this one.
So can I be? I'm me. I'm going to be open and honest about stuff. I tend to say stuff that people. It's not always a popular thing, right?
Hey, let's go.
People need to understand two things. One, my money doesn't. I'm not getting sponsors and stuff like that, right? And when I have conversations, it's not in our budget, right? And I'm always asking, like, well, how much do you think I'm asking you for, right? Because I'm cheap, so I try to I do really big things with very little money, right? And because for me, it's like you don't have to spend a lot of money to give people a great experience. You just got to understand what people are looking for, and you got to partner with the right people. But we have to also understand that if we want these things, they don't come cheap. There's money involved in it. So if you're not buying, like for instance, the summer social, for 2 months, I only sold 4 tickets. Now, if everybody had bought tickets like they were supposed to, they would have had free food, they would have had open bar, they would have had I negotiated all of that. And the ticket wasn't to make me rich, it was to cover the cost of the event. Because I was trying to get sponsors, but I was also being turned down. So the cost for the event has to come from somewhere. The cost for the meetups, the cost for these things has to come from somewhere. And if we're not supporting it, just like the cost for Afros and audio, it comes from the ticket sales. Right. And if we don't, and we have a minimum that we have to reach to make this a successful event. And unfortunately, in our community, for whatever reason, somebody will pay $200 for Nike sneakers, but they won't pay $70 for a ticket for something that they say they want to go to every year. And at the end of the day, it's a business too. We're running businesses here, and you have to make the right choice, right? I'm not going to keep putting myself in debt just because you want to come party and you refuse to contribute. Then
Mhm.
I'm trying to give you the make this fun for you, right? Like, make
Right.
this. Now we want to do a meetup where you just show up at a bar and you buy your drinks on your own. We can do that all day long. That's fine, right? But I want to give you an experience. I want this to be something that's pleasurable. I want this to be memorable. I want this to be something like, yo, I want to come back again next year. But it costs
Right.
costs money. It costs time. And I'm not a millionaire, as much as
Yeah.
you think so.
It's got to
But
make sense. Definitely. Right.
so, and that's one reason why you don't see a lot of things going on, and we don't get the support we should get. Right? We don't get the sponsorships. We don't. And to be fair, I understand from a business point of view why some of these companies are looking at us like they want to support, they want to be in, because the companies are always trying to get into the black. They're trying to figure out how to get into the black community, the black consumer base, and then you have these conversations like, oh, we'll sponsor our event, but if I only sold 10 tickets, you got to look at it from their point of view. What's the rate of, if I'm going to give you $5,000 to do your event, what's the return on investment?
We got
I need at
that.
least to have bodies in there to see my banner. I need bodies in there to learn about my product, to look at my flyers. You got
So they're looking at ticket sales because we know of other independent. The first time they've done a conference, not naming any names, but there were companies that were giving away mics and stuff like that. Why could that easily could have been BPA?
I mean, at the end of the day, you gotta talk to the companies and see like what are their goals. Like, we talk about this sponsorship, right? You gotta know what their goals are. What are they trying to do? Focusrite sponsored us. They gave us three
Okay.
Vocasters to give away. So I was supposed to do a raffle. The problem is also is only sometimes these events is a very small team. I was the only one at my summer social. I forgot to do the raffle. People left. The people
Oh,
who stayed got lucky. We did the raffle. They won. Hey,
okay.
but at the end of the day, sponsorship is not always about money, right? It's like,
Mhm.
like what Focusrite did. They gave us that equipment and we gave it away. And people are using it, right? Um, we had some other people like Osher, the hosting service. They would give us some 1 year hosting platform for their platform to give away. So, like sometimes that's how sponsorship shows up, which is fine, right? That gives added value. If people know about these things and like, oh, I could go win me a new mic, a Shure mic, or this whatever mic that somebody might give to us. That's fine, but we have to also understand that in order for us to show people our value, we have to make investments into ourselves. And if you have
Yes.
people out here doing these events, doing these conferences, doing these meetups, doing these parties, doing these networking events, doing these courses, doing these things, and they're being genuine in their goal to help you grow as a podcaster or a content creator, you have to support them.
Absolutely.
They fizzle out. I've seen so many people come with great ideas and they try it, they execute it, but they take a loss. Like I'm not trying to make it's not. I'm just trying to cover the cost. Now, if I
Right.
can make some money for my time, I'll be happy. But I'm playing me personally. I'm playing the long game.
Mhm.
I'm trying to build this into a brand so that it does get those bigger sponsors. It does grow every year. So, and I know Talib's trying to do that with Afros and Audio. So it's like we're
Yeah.
trying to build these brands, but there's sometimes when you look at it, it's like, is this really worth is it really worth the effort? Because the feedback you're getting from the community is not there.
Right.
So I want people to know that when you see people out here doing things, and it may seem pricey to you, but I tell people all the time, summer social happens every summer.
You can plan for it, right?
Afros and Audios is doing this 6 year. We know that it's coming. You may not know how much it's going to cost, but you know that it's coming.
True.
Put $200-$300 away to the side.
There you go.
I already
Don't
bought
wait
my
till
ticket in
last
February.
minute. Get your ticket. Buy your ticket when it's which I don't understand is I never understand people who don't capitalize off of early bird specials, especially if you're working with limited budget. Like I'm cheap, right?
Shout out to the limited budget.
you know. Like as BPA members, you guys have heard me do this. Like, why are you not buying your tickets as soon as he does the early bird special? You get a 35% discount off of that price. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I've heard some people have told me, well, I want to support. Okay, buy your ticket. And then if you want to give some money later on, I don't think they're going to be like, nah, we don't want your money. Donation. Or if you're a podcaster, become a vendor. Put your table up. Do some live
Sambaza?
at the event. Do something.
Yeah.
If you want to support the event and you want to make sure that because this stuff keeps it going.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Sambaza, we gonna get a table.
think about that. Go like
You can
half
do
and half.
you guys do a live show. You could do a live show from the, like there's so many different things you could do, and
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think people realize like spending the money on the table. It's an investment in
It
in what you're
is.
doing.
It
It is.
really
And,
It's.
is.
and the
I've thought
beautiful
about
thing
it.
about and the beautiful thing about these conferences is that sometimes it's the only time you get to get these people in one room, right? That you might be able to tap into
Absolutely.
and say, hey, Elsie, can you come over here and do an interview with me? Something where you might normally not be able to get access to her. She might be like, okay, or this person or that person, right? You can get them while they're there. So, like, as we know, if you ever been to Afro, it's like a family reunion. So, some of those bigger names that are in the space, you can tap into them and do it. There's plenty of people out there that they set up their tables and they have do their audio, they do their interviews and stuff in their live streams while they're at the conference. So this it's more than just showing up at the conference and saying, hey, I'm just just go see some workshops. There's ways you can use it to expand your brand and build relationships.
For sure. I'm actually going for the first time in person, so I'm really excited this time. I attended virtually in the past,
Mhm.
but we're really excited and plan on checking out Sambaza and the African Dream Team's presentation. That was a joke, guys.
It's like a dream
Promise.
team.
I promise you, it's gonna be lit.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. Yeah,
I
it
kind
should
of like
be.
the vibe, but like I said, we act the same way like we do in family reunions. We got a few cousins here and there who will know that the event is gonna be at this particular day. At the end of the BPA, they're told, look, it's gonna be next year. The pricing is gonna be right about the same time. Okay, why don't you just put some money away and get
Yeah.
ready? Same cousins will come up and tell you, hey, you know what? I'm waiting for some money. I'm waiting for some money, and it's gonna be the same thing. I guess that those are our nuances that we have to deal with regarding our bid and focus to try and create things. We just have to work around them. It's just like the same way when promoters are going to sell tickets here in the Kenyan community. They don't buy them like when they come out first round. No, they'll wait until tomorrow and
Yeah.
then want to buy them. And if you tell them, like for example, you can tell them, look, guys, you can only buy a ticket online. When you come to the door, you're not coming in to pay. You're walking in with your ticket.
Right.
Guess what? Some people walk up and say,
You're
"Hey,
gonna show up.
can I buy a ticket here?" Like, duh. So it's one of those things that we have to try and overcome. But I like
I,
where we're going with this.
I think some people don't understand that there's schedules, right? Especially when you're doing a conference, right? There's schedules where you have to make payments. So you're planning on if I sell 100 tickets at $30, that money's gonna be that's the down payment, right? And I know for me it was like if I don't get the money by this date, I'm canceling it. I have no problem canceling it because I'm doing this for you. I'm not doing this for me. I'm not. It's not putting money in my pocket. I'm not an event planner. I do really well at it, but I'm not an event planner. Like I was drained for like 3 days after my event. Like it takes a lot out of you. But something on a scale of like Afro's audio, there's monetary requirements that have to be met in order for this to continue, and and we have to understand this process. And I think the other part is, as content creators and podcasters, you're running a business. I don't care what anybody says. This is a business, and you have to treat it as such. So if you know that you go into 3 conferences every year is important to you, you have to plan for that and budget for that. Period. Not wait till the last minute. Make sure you and the whole early bird thing. If it's about your money, then you should be capitalizing on the deals that people give you from the beginning, because it's coming. Okay, it may come a little later than you expected. It may come a little earlier than you expected. But hey, you know what? If he's going to give me 50% off of the ticket price, and the ticket price has been consistently $300, I know I need to put $150 somewhere. And that's how you run a business. You have to plan for those things. I keep a year's worth of money to keep my business afloat, so that covers all my costs of my business. You have to do that. So it's really just training us to really think of it as you're running a business. Conferences are a business expense, period. So you have to plan for it. Like myself included, I know I'm going to Afros and Audio. I know I have these different podcast conferences I have to go to. I have to make sure I have the budget for it,
Right.
or find
That's
sponsors.
There you go. Absolutely. I'm glad
So
you shared that
I
with
know I'm on my
us.
soapbox, but like I think it's
No,
important
it is.
because we're losing a lot of track. We lose like I mean like what was it what was the African festival that just they said they're canceling. I forgot.
Yeah,
It's a little
I was
late.
about to say Africa
Oh.
Podfest. I was
Podfest,
about to
right?
write a story
And
about that too, or talk
they
about it.
decided, and that was a lot of because of to keep. I don't know all the details, but I know I could tell you most likely my opinion was it was because of money.
Hmm.
A lot of times it's because of money, and we're losing these important things that were there when when nobody was there, and it was even more important then. And it no, I'm not say that it was important. It's still important now, but it was even more important then because we didn't even have the numbers we have now. Black content creators in the podcast space. So
Right.
therefore, like when Afros and Audio started, when Black Podfest started, when Afro Fest started, they were important. They're important structures in this space because we already were a small percentage of the industry. So we needed them. We need as we grow, we're going to need them even more.
Mm.
So
Trying to
it's
figure it
important for us
out.
to support these things.
We're trying to figure out how we can get that back on schedule or somehow something, even if it's
Mm.
online.
Well,
But
it might have to be something, and that's the other thing, right? You got to
Mhm.
also realize when do we pivot, or when do we say, okay, the scale is not ready now. Maybe we change what, like you said, like Afros and Audio decided to change how they're going to do things this year, right? Which is cool. But and to keep it real with you, it's not just in the black space where they're suffering. It's other conferences are having this problem too with attendance.
Mhm.
So when do we start pivoting? When do we start looking at certain things and saying, okay, how do we change this experience? How do we get more value out of it? So it might have to go to a virtual. It might have to use. It might not have to be an in-person event. So and that's
Mhm.
okay. And we have to put our egos to the side and say, well, it's not the vision I have for it, but as long as it's going, you can work towards getting back to that vision.
Mhm.
which leads me to one more question before I let Jen move to the next one. Um, why aren't we doing one media like a virtual kind of meetup for Afros and Audio uh, or BPA, right? To set us up for Afros and Audio at the end of the year. Like to me, between when we like October till October, that's a whole year. I mean, somewhere in between, like maybe June, February, March, April, May, somewhere around there. Maybe we should get something going on, which is virtual. Like now, talk about where we are. Like a half term or a half year, mid year result about what's going on in podcasting. Maybe we present something, and then look forward to like a roadmap to
Yeah.
the end of the year celebration, which will be the Afros and Audio
So you
Festival.
guys heard it here first. Sambaza is volunteering to help do that.
Hey.
And see that's the problem. That's where it happens because you gotta think about it. Like I don't know how many people think you guys know because you see me all the time, but a lot of people don't realize it's some of these operations are one or two people operations. I'm a one person
Mhm.
operation right now. I have people who help me behind the scenes, but the main work gets done by me, right?
Oh
So
my
the
goodness.
goal is to do that. It's on paper. It's like, hey, we should be doing this, but
Oh
when it
wow.
comes to execution, it's like, and that's another thing we have to do. Like when I decide, like when my friend did to me when I was complaining, what did she say? Well, then you do it yourself. So sometimes we got to make the call out and say, okay, you have the idea, come put the idea together, come to us, and we'll get. I tell people all the time, tell me what you want to do, and I'll help you get the resource. We'll figure out how to get the resources. I can't do it.
Mhm.
I have day to day stuff. I could tell you, and I hopefully tell him if he sees this, he knows I can speak for him. The planning process to do what he does, it takes a year.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
to add extra stuff on top of it, it's like, hey, I don't have the capacity to do it. So for the people out there watching and listening, you can always volunteer. If you have an idea, like, hey, good, okay, we want to do these things. We know it's important to do these things, but it's limited bandwidth, limited resources,
That's
limited
true.
time. So, and that's the thing. And it's my, like, I'll say for my fault with the BPA is I've had people ask me, what do you need? And part of the problem is when I started it, I didn't set up the structure properly. So I don't know what to tell you what I need when I don't know what I need myself. Right. So it's
Mhm.
like, and that's what I've been doing this past year. It's just restructuring, revamping, narrowing down the mission, getting back to the focus of what we were doing, and building up. Now I'm building up my team. I'm going to be bringing on a board of advisors. I'm bringing in people that are going to help take it to the next level because I can't do it. I want to capitalize off the talents of our membership. I always put
Mhm.
it out there. If you want to do a workshop, you want to do a course, you want to do something, feel free to reach out. Let's talk about it, because that helps you too to build your brand. You guys will have skill sets.
Right.
So, you've got experience under your belt from running these shows. You can teach this to other people. I have the platform to help you do it, and we'll do the marketing and everything. So it's like, so we want to do stuff like that. We want to do lead up to the event, because that helps with marketing, helps connect people and everything, and brings more. So Sambaza, if you're open to it, you want to talk about it, we can talk about it, bro.
Yeah.
Sit down and talk about it and see how.
Absolutely.
Even if it's once a month or once a quarter or something like that, it doesn't have to be, if anybody listening, it doesn't have to be like a crazy, everybody has a lot. We have our families, we have our personal lives we're trying to do. And not everybody's in a position, or like me, where I'm just like, FTK, F everybody. This is my priority. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys will be all right over there. But you have to figure out how to make things work together collectively, and that's the only way it's going to work. And that's where and when these companies see us moving like that, that's when they're going to realize they can't do the divide and conquer like they do with, yo, Sambaza, here's a check. Can you promote this product for me? And then Jen, here's a check, but I'm not going to pay you the same much as I pay for Sambaza, because you don't have the same numbers, even though you might have the same influence, and you guys are on the same show together. You know what I'm saying? So, we just got to, if they see us moving in a certain way, then it just, what they say, powers in numbers.
Right.
So I'm down. Like, I'm always open to new ideas. I just can't do everything. And I had to stop myself from taking on new projects. And it's like, I write it down. So,
I'm glad you said that, Corey. Speaking of taking on new projects, you recently opened the full service podcast recording studio, Full Press Studios, which we are really excited to hear that you did that. Congrats and kudos to you. And please share with us how that has been going and how you plan to make an impact with this new endeavor.
So, Press Record Studios is myself, my partner Richard Butler, and my other partner Matt Kapowski. I always screw up his name, Matt. Sorry if you see this. I'm sorry, Matt Kapowitz, whatever. Matt, right? We decided to come together. So if you haven't been to New York is a weird place, right? Because New York has also, we consider Long Island, which is Nassau County, South Suffolk County. What happens is a lot of times people got to come into Manhattan to do a lot of these events, right? And people from Queens, people from Brooklyn be like, I don't feel like traveling out there, right? It's either you got to take the public transportation, or it's always an hour drive. Even though we're close in proximity, it's always an hour drive because of traffic and everything. So we decided to open up the studio on the borderline of Queens, Long Island, because we were finding a lot of people from Long Island didn't want to come all the way out to Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan to do. And they're like what I call podcasting deserts. Even around here, we have podcasting deserts where everything's happening in particular areas, but nothing's happening more local where it's easier for people to get to. For you to go from Suffolk County to Manhattan on a weeknight to go to a networking event at 7:00, that's an hour, maybe hour and a half trip. Unless you worked in the city and then you take the train home, then that's an hour and a half trip home, right? So it's like we can, and there's not a lot of studios out there. So we were like, let's put it here in Westbury, which is a popular area. It's a well-traveled area. It's near highways. It's near a big shopping center. And we were like, let's try to build a studio. So we're gonna be doing like outside the studio, we're also gonna be doing like classes and meetups and stuff at our facility. So we're gonna be rolling that out hopefully by the end of the year, first quarter next year. But the goal is to try to again create communities where people can collaborate, work with each other, because a lot of people are fractured in this space, and they need to. There's so much talent and so much experience and so many ideas that people should be sharing with each other. Because the biggest thing I always hear from people is, I thought I was in this by myself. I didn't know you guys existed. I thought I was doing this by myself. So mainly that's what it is. We do full service editing, recording, mobile recording, all of that stuff. Anything you need, we do.
Nice. Definitely. Cool. And Sambaza, we have a question in the comments.
Right. Ed is asking this question. What are the 3 things that make a podcast successful? Now, we're going to toss it over to you and give us the answer for that.
To me?
Yes, Corey. 3 things that make a podcast successful, in your opinion.
Well, okay. Well, I'm going to say this: success is subjective, right? Everybody has different goals of what they want to accomplish with their podcast. I would say, if I was going to tell somebody to gauge their success in podcasting, it would be you have a core audience. You have a clearly defined message that you're getting across on your podcast, that to the point where it's enjoyable. People are engaged. They're listening. They're coming to show up every week. They enjoy what they're hearing. So engaged audience, clear messaging, and what would be the third thing? To me, those are the two biggest things. You got those things, you got a great podcast. But the third thing is, I would say, you're solving problems for people. And a lot of times when you talk to people, when I talk to clients about their podcast, what problem are you solving? Like, even with gossiping, right? You're solving a problem. People are looking for information about something that they're interested in. And you got to wade through the cesspool of bad content to find great content. So how do you solving this problem for your audience, right? So that makes them want to be engaged and become your core audience and want to show up every week, so that you can be successful. So, and then that comes in the clarity of your messaging, right? It comes in from you identifying what's the niche, what's the problem with this niche, and how do I solve it in my way. And I think if you figured out that formula, you're going to have a successful podcast.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Welcome.
So now, Corey, my next question is going to be this, very simple, but might be hard at times to answer. How can we reach you?
Well, you get my email, you get my phone number, right? By email, you got my phone number. Nah, I'm pretty accessible. I run our socials, so
right.
You can always reach out to me on social media. You'll find us on certain social media platforms. That how active I am on them is another question. Like, I'm not on X like that anymore for obvious reasons. But mainly Twitter. Mainly like Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're on all those platforms. So you can always shoot me a DM on it. I do check them. I might not check them right away. But that's the best way to reach me. And contact with me.
Can I throw you under the bus? Do you have permission to throw you under the bus?
No.
But whatever. Yeah, what's up?
No.
Like a good challenge.
We are not throwing.
He says he's off of X. Look, he says he's off of X, where you really wanted us to move to X from Clubhouse.
No, I wanted to move to Twitter.
You wanted us to move to Twitter?
When it was Twitter.
To what? Twitter. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, so speaking about that spaces and what have you, what about Chatterbox? And it's by the way, it's African Black owned.
This is the first time I'm ever hearing of it. I've never heard of it.
Chatterbox. Oh,
what is Chatterbox?
It's like a clubhouse.
That's not what it's called, Sambaza. That's not the right. It's called Chatter.
Chatter.
Okay. Chatter or Chatterbox?
It's called Chatter by Nelson Ipega. You may remember him from Clubhouse back in the Clubhouse days.
Okay.
Some of the, I don't know, opinionated rooms and drama rooms, whatever people used to call them. Anyway, he, I guess, is an entrepreneur, what have you, is one of the people behind Chatter. It's just Chatter.
Chatter. Okay.
Yeah.
I never heard of it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I kind of like been in my own box.
It's fairly new though. They were just in beta not too long ago, and it's a little like, I think you got to have a password or something, or
it's like a Clubhouse clone.
Right. Yeah. Basically.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm open. Like, if it gets the job done, these are all tools, right? Everything is tools, right? Like the fact I'm still surprised you guys are still in Clubhouse. I'm surprised it's around. I went back on there and I was like, I don't even know what this interface is anymore, and I got right off. So, and I went on because I wanted to check what you guys are doing, but everything is a tool, right? And
right.
I want to see, when I spoke at Black is Tech a couple of years ago, my thing was trying to get more Black developers, software engineers into this space, because I was like, we need more of you guys to create apps. And then ChatGPT took off a couple months later, and I was like, see? And then now I'm going to all these different events, and I get cold emails all day long because people see I have a community, and they're like, oh, I would like to meet you to introduce you to my product. And I'm like, they're not Black. So I'm definitely open to hearing about what Black entrepreneurs and developers are doing in this space, and looking at their tools. But I want people watching, like, all this stuff is tools, and whatever's going to work to help you get to the audience you need to get to. I say support, use it.
Come on, blackity black black.
She's a Spike Lee of
I
podcasting.
I got excited when he said that. I was like, wait a minute. Oh,
We got
speaking
some
of that,
conversation.
yeah, we had a couple more comments. He said,
All right.
"Teach, wake it up,
Yeah,
brother."
yeah, pick it up, brother.
Like
He
we're
said,
gonna be bringing Choppity, which is like a kind of like I'm doing a disservice by making the comparison, but it's like an Opus Clips.
Oh, okay.
I'm bringing them to the BPA. We've been talking, we're working out some stuff, but members are going to get access to Choppity, which is a Black founded software based out of the UK. So
Nice.
I'm talking to some of these companies, but I'm trying to encourage people out there to build these products because I'm getting inundated by this stuff.
And along the lines of what you were saying, and just in case there are some non-melanated folks tapping in, because we recently had some conversations, and they have questions about why we have the struggles that we have as Black content creators, and I don't know if they can't understand, or it just seems like so shocking that we go through these things and they're real life things happening. But yes, one, racism is a truth, real thing. And two, it's harder for independent business owners who are, African American to get, and can you share on that path?
I mean, the
Before-
numbers show you that Black founders are less funded than any other group of people.
Right.
Black men are less are it's hard for them to get capital. Black women, it's even harder, as we saw with that the lawsuit that just happened, and then it's
Yes.
going out, where you had people putting together VC funds to invest into these to our groups. For our white counterparts watching, and I see it myself, and I saw it, at the recent conference I went to. It's like the question is, like, one of the biggest things is I put on my stuff. This event is open to everyone because I want you to come. I want you to meet these Black creators. I want you to engage them. I want you to talk to. I want you to see the kind of projects they're doing. I want you to. The only way I feel like you can actually understand is you have to talk to us, right? You have to meet us. You have to engage with us. When I did our Summit Social, we did karaoke. I was like, what is karaoke? It's one of the greatest equalizers, right? All you got to do is put the right song on and everybody's singing together. And that takes down the guard that people put up amongst themselves. And that's how conversations happen. So I say, like, why do we have these problems? Because it's always weird that the numbers say that, when people want to, when you want to, 50 Cent's a perfect example of what he did with Power, right? He showed stars the power of his power, right? Of his audience. Hey, Power's not on, cancel your subscriptions. They don't want to pay us. They don't want to operate right. Cancel your subscription. People did it. And then what stars do? Oh, no. They backtracked and then they went back to the table, negotiated, whatever. And we have to start moving. We have to start moving that way.
And that's our influence again, right?
But we don't know our value. We don't understand our
Yes.
value, and that's the problem. Like, we want, we have this culture of chasing, getting the bag, right? Everybody wants to.
Right.
We throw a lot of these rappers and these celebrities because they got the bag, and we're not understanding that when you're chasing the bag, you're giving up your value.
Okay.
Right? If somebody's okay, I'm a tech guy, right? So if VC's coming to me with says 10, I'm gonna give you $1 million for your, to invest in your product. It's not the mathematical science, but the idea is if you get $1 million, you're worth $10 million. Right? And some of these companies move as that. I'm not saying don't throw away that opportunity to get some seed money if that's coming to your way, but you have to understand that if somebody's trying to buy my company for $2 million, how much is it really worth?
That's right. That's right.
You hear stories about, like, when Uber, somebody made a bid to buy Uber, right? Everybody talks about what was the company where, like, Yahoo was going to buy them and they turned down the deal? It was at Google.
Okay.
Google is now, right? When Yahoo was going to buy Google in the 90s.
Wow.
There were companies that made bids for Amazon, but because they knew their worth and they understood that with the value that they presented, they passed on those deals. And now look where they're at. Look at the market share they have. Look how much they're worth 20, 30 years later. So, we tend to send that bag. And a lot of the time it's because we're struggling, right? A lot of us are struggling just to keep these shows running. So somebody comes to you with an offer and it's like, but that's how you lose your IP. That's how you lose your property. That's how you lose your
Oh,
work. A lot of times with these deals and stuff. So you got to be real careful when that bag comes in front of you. You got to, if you know your value and you know what you're trying to do, then that bag, then it gives you a little bit more. I mean, you might lose out on an opportunity, but if somebody's going to come to me with $100,000 to buy BPA for me, that means I'm doing something right.
absolutely
If I
not.
turn that down, that means if I keep doing what I'm doing, somebody's going to come with a better deal, right? Or there's going to be a deal down
Absolutely.
the road. Or I
Right.
might have missed my window. But at the end of the day, you got to know your value.
Yes.
So,
Sometimes
and you
it's
got
not
to
about
move as
the money
such.
too. Sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes it's more about what you're achieving in the end.
So it's always about the money. Even if you try.
It really is. It really is because that
Let's
it's a
talk about that real quick.
principle.
I don't want to take you guys over your time, but let's talk about that because that's a big problem in our
Yeah.
community. Is like we think we're supposed to be, we think we're not supposed to make money, and we can't make money and do good at the same time. When truthfully, the only way to do good is to have the money.
Well, maybe I need to restructure that answer. It's not about the money and such that don't put it as the first thing you want to go for.
Yeah,
Like you said,
I agree with that.
puts it first. You gotta stop and think first. Don't rush for the bag. Think first and see, hey, if he's gonna offer me $10 million for this product,
I'm out.
I keep it. See if I keep it.
I already know my exit strategy. I'm out. 10 million, good.
See if I keep it for about 10 years and what value I can get out of it. Like when they present it to you and tell you all the goodies that you'll get, maybe you should look at a different perspective. And when you do that, you probably will have the knowledge at that point to figure out, okay, if it's 10 million, I'll take it right now and move. Or this is going to be a better product if I wait 10 more years. Yes, I might be losing out or I might fail, but it's a gamble. Just like the guy for Star Wars, he bet everything on Star Wars, every single dime he had, and look at what he created. A
Yeah, but
brand.
there was also a market for it.
But I
Star
think
Trek,
the
Star
idea.
Trek set up the market for it, and a lot of those B movies set up the market for it. Did they project it was going to be what it did? No, they didn't. But that's the whole thing with business, right? You have all the data in front of you that says this. Because as a business owner, you also got to recognize, and if let's say even as a content creator, you got to recognize when is your window of opportunity. Because if the market is
Ooh.
like like when Uber came out, it had the market share, but then Lyft came, and then all the other services came, right? So they start eating away at your market. So then it's like, when do you sell? When do you got to be able to have that knowledge too, right? You got to know your exit strategy. So you got to be real careful with that. Like I would if you see the market, because markets will go up and down. Everything goes up and down, even in podcast space, right?
Mm-hmm.
A year ago, everybody was getting laid off. Now it's like, oh, we're projected to make all this money, and now, and then people getting laid off again. So it's like you got to be real careful, but you got to know what you're in it for. And I want to say this: the money, and a lot of people fail to realize is if you build a good product, the money is the byproduct. And we have plenty of examples of that. We have Apple. We have Google, we have Amazon, we have all these companies that focus on building great products that solve problems for people. The money comes.
Right.
So I agree with you. If you're focusing on the money part, you're in the wrong industry. But if you focus on building a great product and building a great audience, the money's going to come.
True.
Okay, I
So
love
you
that.
got gems tonight.
Yes.
Proposal, right?
Excited.
Can we have you back quarterly, every quarter?
Yeah, look, that's one thing I do for my
Oh, I
members. That's another perk of the BPA. I always show up for my members.
Hey, all right
What I'll
now.
tell you guys no. If it's no, it's just a schedule conflict. But we'll make it work.
I think we need you every quarter to give us an update on the, maybe we can call it an update on a quarterly update on what's going on in the Black Podcasters, not the Black Association, but the Black podcasting space. Like what are these products that are coming up, in terms of what you've gotten, and what to be looking at that's upcoming. And then throw in a little thing about, now we've talked about money and stuff like that. I think that could be a good idea. Maybe we could try it off at Chatterbox.
I mean, look, we can talk. We can talk to them.
We can do it here. No, I'd rather do it here.
I'm always open to listen to conversations about like how we can collaborate. Because for me, for me, what I do with the BPA is I'm always asking, how can I make this more valuable for you guys, and how can I? And I'm trying to figure out what's the value, and what problems can I solve for you.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you actually did a sit down with me and Sambaza independently. I used part of that image. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, we appreciate that. So you've definitely poured into us. So we appreciate you spending this time in this evening, during the week, busy week in New York with everything that's going on today even. So we appreciate you for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. This is good. This is good. I enjoy doing
Absolutely.
this.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I think we should take a moment of silence for the 9/11 victims.
For sure.
All right, let's go. All right, I think that will suffice.
Thank you, Sambaza.
Appreciate
Well,
it.
if I don't speak to you guys before then, which I probably will speak to you, but I'll see you guys in October.
All right,
Yes.
hey, you're gonna have a booth, right?
I'm gonna have a table. Yeah, I'm
You're
probably
gonna
gonna
have a
do.
table. Okay.
I'm probably gonna do all those interviews I did like last year and not put them out. I still got them sitting right here on my table, so I'm gonna work on that.
Nice. Okay, well, hang on before you run out of here, Corey. All right, Sambaza, any last thoughts? We're going to go ahead and wrap it all up.
No, hey, look, like I said, the conversation was had today. I had a great time, and appreciate you just showing up, Corey. Even if it was at short notice, and giving us all these gems. Really appreciate it. Straight from my heart.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We hope that today's conversations have inspired and enlightened you. If you found today's episode meaningful, please consider sharing it with your friends and family and colleagues. If you haven't done so already, like, share, subscribe. Our collective awareness and advocacy play a crucial role in creating positive change. So stay tuned for more engaging content, and we look forward to continuing these important conversations in the future. So with that, we ask Corey to stick around for our proper goodbye, and everyone else, take care. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out. And also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms. And please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening, and take care.